So this is a quick summary of the Costa Ludas Handgun 1 class that I took, and I think it was April in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. There's a lot of things I noticed, and I'll try and run through them really fast. I don't have anything written down, so I'm just kind of winging it. First off, I'd say I wouldn't advise taking a class from any kind of instructor like that if your shooting fundamentals aren't very good. If you're showing up there with a Serpa holster and leather magazine pouches, it's not going to be a good weekend. It's not going to be worth your time, and you're not going to get as much out of it as you should. They've got plenty of instructors that have lots of videos out about what kind of gear is decent. Just watch them. And I would get that stuff. Or not in the high-end stuff, but you need to get a good belt. You need to get Kydex holsters, things like that. So don't show up with like a tiny 45 and then not understand why you can't hit anything because maybe your flinch is terrible or your trigger press is bad. They'll teach you that, yes, but you're dragging the whole class down. Just the whole thing moves slowly, and I think if you're paying that kind of money and you're gonna shoot that kind of round count, you need to know what you're doing before you show up. But it was really fun. I will say that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was great to meet a lot of guys out there from all over. I enjoyed a lot of the drills we did, and I will say though that a lot of the stuff you're going to do can be found on YouTube, even like Costa teaching it. There's a lot of that already out there. So I would watch if you're serious about going to like a Handgun 1 class and you haven't ever taken a class before, I would watch every piece of content you can find that he has done, and other big instructors too, and make sure you're proficient in all that stuff before you even go. If you don't know how to clear, like there's someone in my class who didn't know how to clear double feed, and I don't really understand that. I feel like that information's readily available. There's probably 25 videos on how to clear double feed. Things like that. I think you should have already practiced plenty, and then you can hone that when you get there. You're gonna shoot, I don't know what the round count is. It's like, I don't know, 1,000 rounds or something like that. So you're gonna shoot, it might be 2,000 rounds. So you're gonna shoot a whole bunch, but you need to have an idea what you're gonna do before you go there. Have tried to shoot prone before you go. Try to shoot kneeling. Try and shoot different positions. Try and shoot one-handed. Try and shoot offhand. All that stuff I think is stuff that you should have already kind of done at least a little bit. And I would say also shoot a lot of small things up close and shoot a lot from 25. I think that's mostly where the class focused. He didn't pull out a timer during the class. Nothing was timed. I would say shoot at 25. And I think if you can't stand at 25 and shoot 10 rounds and get them all on a piece of cardboard that's a USPSA IDPA size, then you kind of have no business going to that class. If you can't get 10 rounds on a 25 onto the cardboard. I think he really expects you to be able to shoot about an 8-inch group once you show up. Really, that's I think you're not really going to learn a whole lot unless your fundamentals aren't good. So yeah, focus on that 8-inch group at 25, but if you can't get them on the paper at 25, then I wouldn't even waste your time. You've got a lot more things to figure out on your own before he can teach you anything. And then up close, I would shoot. Haley has Travis Haley has some images you can download and print off. I would definitely do that. He's got a dots drill one. It's got 1-inch dots or something. It's got a whole bunch of them. Shoot the 1-inch dots at 3 yards. Shoot it 4, 5, 6, 7 yards. And once again, I wouldn't go to a class like this, or probably with any other instructor, unless if you can't shoot the dots at 3, you definitely have no business going. I think if you can get half your shots in at 7, you're in a good spot. At least half in at 7, because that's where I was. About half the time I was missing them at 7, but only by a little bit. By half an inch or something. And when you miss them, make sure you know that you blew that shot too. That's really important. Kind of call on your misses just as the trigger breaks, going, oh, that was not a good shot. But I really enjoyed it. It was really good, and you do a lot of movement on the last day. You're going to holster between places you move to and from, which I get as a safety thing, but there's plenty of competitions people can go shoot on a weekend and just show up and they can shoot and move with the gun out of the holster. So, you got to realize you're going to be kind of taking a step back a little bit that way for safety reasons, because he doesn't know everyone that's showing up to a 25-person or 20-person class like that. But the instruction was really good. He demoed everything. He went through it. He's really funny. Definitely like an enjoyable weekend. I would go out and shoot. A lot of people too hadn't shot that much before this class. This gun in particular is the one actually I shot in the class. Exactly set up like this. Well, different trigger, but set up like that. And I got the gun in December, and then it was gone for 2 weeks getting the RMR put on it, and the class was in like the first weekend in April, I want to say, and I'd already shot 2,000 rounds to the gun, if not more, before I even showed up to the class, right? So, and then shot another 1,000 rounds in the class. So I think a lot of people hadn't shot that much before going, and I had planned. I signed up for the class 6 months in advance or something like that, so I knew. And I bought extra ammo so I could have shot a ton before I even showed up. And I think I was probably the only person that had done that, just judging by the groups at different distances and things like that. I was you can only look at the people, like a couple of people down from you, but I was shooting better than most, I would say, for sure. So yeah, I would shoot a whole bunch. I would try to sit down or go one range trip and try and shoot 250 to 350 rounds to your gun, try and find out where the hot spots are going to be, try and get your hands like ready for that, because you're going to be shooting 600 rounds in a day or something like that. At least 500 rounds in a day, I think. And it takes a little bit of a toll on you. Like you'd be surprised. Some people got some serious bite from the slide on their Glocks. They're switching between maybe a Gen 3 and Gen 4, or Gen 4 to Gen 3, and they're grabbing pretty high, and it would come back and cut them. So a lot of people, probably a third or a fourth of the class, had like bandages on their hands by the end, because they just weren't ready for that. It's like not running any and then trying to go out and run a marathon. Like it's not going to happen. So I'd shoot your gun a whole bunch one weekend and get a feel for what 500 or 600 rounds in a day is going to feel like, because it'll wear you out. Especially if you just slap on grip tape like that and try and go, your hands are going to be rubbed raw. You're going to end up having to peel it off because you're not going to be able to take it. And then if you're shooting in the summer, you need some kind of like grip on here, because you're going to be sweaty and hot, and it is for real going to be a problem, especially when you get to the part where you're doing malfunctions. You almost do a half day malfunctions, and if your hands are just sliding all over everything, it's going to be really frustrating and fairly unsafe as well. But I'd recommend it if you're someone, I think, who wants to take a class like that. I think if you're someone who can do all the things I mentioned, if you can clear all the malfunctions that you can think of, and you can do them fast, and you can look online and try and find some par times. They're like decent times for clearing those things, and you can shoot at 25, and you can shoot at 7 and shoot dots, and you can shoot fairly quickly as well. And if you shot a couple competitions, I think you may depending on what region you're in. I think because I was in kind of the southeast, we had a little bit more. Our crowd didn't shoot quite as much, but I think if you're in a region maybe that shoots a lot, you'll get more out of it. But I wanted a little more out of the class. I was ready for a little more instruction, and I didn't get as much one-on-one because I was, shooting very well. So if you show up out of 20 people and you're the number 3 shooter out of 20, in terms of skill level, you're gonna get less attention because you're trying to fix everyone else's problems. So I would just kind of consider that, and I would, consider taking maybe someone's less expensive level 1 class just to make sure that you're as good as you think you are, and then maybe take a level 2 class from someone that's more expensive. But definitely enjoyed it. The stories were also great. He told stories couple stories every day, if not, 4 or 5 stories a day about really interesting things he'd seen and done, and some life lessons kind of from that, and he has some really unique experiences. I think I covered everything. If y'all have any more specific questions about it, I'm not gonna go through like everything we did on every day. But if you have more specific questions, just leave them in the comments, or you can message me about it, and I can do a follow-up video, or I can just comment back. So let me know. Thanks.